My name is Emily Carter. I'm 41. A university lecturer in Seattle for more than a decade. On paper, my life looked solid: a quiet home by the lake, a rewarding career, and a 17-year marriage to Mark Carter, senior partner at a prestigious downtown law firm. We had history, rituals, matching coffee mugs, anniversary photo albums neatly labeled by year. At gatherings, we were that couple, always smiling, sharing glances, finishing each other's sentences. We traveled, hosted game nights, volunteered together. From the outside, it was the perfect portrait, but portraits can be retouched. Lately, the edges had started to fray. First, it was late nights and fewer words, deadlines, he claimed. Then came the new cologne, the gym habit, crisp shirts on random Tuesdays. I always noticed, but noticing is different from admitting. I told myself what people in long relationships tell themselves: it's just a phase, life gets busy, people drift. Then one evening, a single detail tore the whole picture apart. Mark was in the shower, humming some classic rock tune. I was folding laundry when his phone lit up. One message: reservation confirmed. Table for two, Lumiere, Friday, 7:30 p.m., window seat, she'll love it. Lumiere, the restaurant we once dreamed of for our 10th anniversary. He'd cancelled back then. Work, he said. Now, someone else had my seat. I didn't mean to unlock his phone, but my hands moved before my mind caught up. The passcode was still our wedding date. 4 digits. Naive, just like believing trust alone could hold a marriage. Inside was the truth, waiting without mercy. Her name was everywhere: Lisa Morgan, blonde, mid-30s, communications manager at his firm. Messages filled with emojis, pet names, private jokes, outfit debates, photos from a cancelled Napa trip, and one image that hollowed me out completely: Mark in bed, grinning beside her in a way I hadn't seen in years. The rage didn't hit right away. First came the emptiness, then it bloomed, quiet, controlled. Have you seen my gray tie? He called from the bathroom. Second drawer, I answered, voice steady, hands trembling. That night, I lay beside him in silence, each breath counting down to something I hadn't yet decided. By morning, I knew. I kissed him goodbye as he left for an important meeting. Then I called the university, requested a short leave, not to mourn, but to prepare. I'd spent 17 years as the understanding wife. That role was dead. Coffee cooling beside me, I opened his laptop. His calendar was meticulous, color-coded, precise. There it was, Friday, 7:30 p.m., Lumiere, window seat, wine pre-selected, Lisa's full name, right there. A quick search led me to her social media, and to her husband, Daniel Green, executive architect, married. He deserved to know. But not through angry screenshots or wild accusations. No, this had to be subtle, strategic, unshakable. And I knew exactly how to start. I began drafting an email: professional, polite, perfectly casual, an invitation to guest lecture for my students. Because if Mark and Lisa thought their secret world was untouchable, they were about to find out how wrong they were. Dear Mr. Green, my name is Emily Carter, and I teach in the Urban Planning Department at Washington Metro University. We're hosting a guest series on design innovation and recently came across your work on the Fremont Riverfront District. I'd like to invite you for an informal dinner to discuss your insights. I've reserved a table for Friday evening, 7:30 p.m. at Lumiere, downtown Seattle. I look forward to the possibility of working together. Emily Carter. I read it 3 times before hitting send. 2 hours later, the reply came. Thank you for the invitation. Friday at 7:30 works perfectly. Done. Next, I called Lumiere. Hi, I already have a reservation under Emily Carter, I said evenly. If possible, could you seat me near a reservation under Mark Carter and Lisa Morgan? We're collaborating and would like to be close. The hostess didn't even pause. Of course, ma'am. I smiled for the first time in days, not from joy, but because the plan was in motion. This wasn't about screaming or theatrics. It was about precision. I wasn't out to make a scene. I was out to remove every shadow where denial could hide. Friday came faster than I expected. I arrived 20 minutes early. Lumiere was all polished elegance, dim lights, hushed voices, candlelit tables, a place meant for celebrations, secrets, and both kinds of heartbreak. The hostess placed me by the window, exactly where I'd asked. The teal silk dress, too loud for formal events, according to Mark, flowed just enough when I moved. My hair was swept into a soft bun. Makeup minimal but deliberate, champagne-colored heels, everything chosen for control. At 7:29, he arrived. Emily Carter? Daniel Green was exactly as I'd imagined, tall, clean-cut. The kind of handshake that's both polite and sure. We talked about his projects, my lectures, the polite nothings you say when you're waiting for something bigger to happen. And then it happened. Mark entered, wearing the gray blazer I'd given him last Christmas. Lisa followed, radiant in a red dress, her fingers brushing his arm. They smiled like honeymooners as the hostess led them to the table beside ours. Mark poured the wine, Lisa leaned in. I kept my expression neutral, until his gaze caught mine. His hand froze mid-pour. Lisa followed his eyes, and her smile faltered. I excused myself to Daniel, rising slowly, giving them just enough time to squirm. In the hallway, Lisa appeared, pale. You're Emily, she said quietly. And you're the one holding my husband's hand under the table while your own husband is 10 feet away. Please, she whispered, not here. Why not here? I said. It's perfect, music, candlelight, the perfect setting for truth. Mark hovered behind her, unsure. Too late. Daniel, I called. He joined us, brows knitted. This is my husband, Mark Carter, I said evenly, and I believe you know Lisa, your wife. Daniel turned to her, her silence said everything. I walked back to the table without waiting for apologies. Revenge didn't need to be loud, it needed to be undeniable. When Daniel finally sat beside me, I asked the waiter for a private room, combined with Mark's reservation. Moments later, we were all seated together, 4 chairs, 1 table, no exits. Mark spoke first. Emily, I don't know where to start. Start 3 days ago, I said, pouring water, when you left your phone on the nightstand after confirming this dinner. Lisa stared at her lap, Daniel stared at her face. I've read it all, I continued. Santa Barbara, Napa, every message, every photo, every moment you thought I wouldn't see. Lisa whispered, I'm sorry. I turned to Daniel. This is my husband, that's your wife, at least on paper. Silence settled heavy over the table. The performance was over, the truth had taken the stage. What were you going to tell me? Daniel's voice was low, almost steady. That it just happened, Lisa whispered. That it was a moment of weakness. He shook his head. You packed an overnight bag and flew to California. That takes more than a moment. Tears streaked her cheeks. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean to? His tone hardened. I spent 2 weeks redoing your home office because you said you needed more inspiration. I bought you those lamps you wanted. And you were holding someone else's hand while I was wiring your workspace. Mark reached across the table toward me. Emily, please. I made a mistake. But we've built a life. No, I cut in, voice sharp but calm. You built a fantasy. The life we had ended the moment you started looking at her the way you used to look at me. His hand fell back. I reached into my purse, set a hotel key in the center of the table. I'm at the Celesta across the street tonight. Go home if you still recognize it as yours. I'll be back Monday. I suggest you're not there. Emily, don't do this, we can fix it, he pleaded. You don't fix a foundation that's rotten, I said. You tear it down. But not with the same wood. Lisa stayed silent. Daniel looked at her, then at me. Thank you, he said quietly. For telling me. For not letting me live in a lie. I stood, heels clicking like punctuation on the polished floor, and walked out first. No one followed. Sometimes silence is the loudest ending. Outside, the cool Seattle night wrapped around me. Lumiere glowed behind tall glass panes, its perfect ambience now nothing more than the set for a play whose masks had fallen. I crossed the street to the Celesta Hotel. Room 143 was waiting. The clerk smiled, I nodded, said nothing. Inside, I locked the door, slipped off my heels, and stood at the window. The city shimmered below, full of strangers unaware that a marriage had ended just steps from their dinner tables. I sat on the bed for what felt like hours, replaying every glance, every word. The tears didn't come at first. But when they did, they came hard, raw grief for the 17 years I gave, the anniversaries I planned alone, the love I thought was real. Then, 3 knocks. Daniel. Still in the same shirt, eyes red but calm. I didn't know where else to go, he said. Come in. We sat in 2 armchairs by the window. The silence wasn't awkward, it was the kind that comes when two people are breathing through the same pain. I still don't know how you did it, he said finally. Sat through that dinner. I gave a dry laugh. I wasn't sitting. I was waiting. Some truths, you have to deliver yourself, or they lose their weight. He nodded. For the first time that night, I felt seen, not as the betrayed, but as the one who refused to stay silent. Eventually, he stood. I should go. I won't sleep, but I'll try. At the door, he paused. Thank you, for letting me find out with dignity. You deserve to know. What happens next? He asked. I don't know, I said. But I do know what won't happen, I won't shrink so someone else can stand taller. He gave a faint smile and left. I locked the door, leaned against it, breathing in the quiet. That night, I didn't make resolutions. I didn't try to reinvent myself. I just existed, not Mark's wife, not the betrayed. Just a woman in a hotel room with mascara on her pillow and nothing left to pretend. Closure didn't come with a bow. It came with a silence so complete it made space for my own voice again. I didn't text Mark. Didn't answer his calls. By Monday, his things were gone, cardboard boxes where a life used to be. I opened the bedroom curtains. Light flooded in, warm, golden. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. If you're reading this, wondering if you're imagining the distance, the shift in their laughter, trust yourself. You're not imagining it. You're just not blind. And if this gave you even a breath of courage, share it. Someone else might need to hear they're not alone. We all deserve the truth. More than that, we deserve peace.